Hey, good evening, everybody. This is LK. Welcome to tonight's Wednesday anime show here. We'll get started here in a minute too. We'll see, if we can get the crowd to build up here. Thanks for tuning in. We're holding on to the mothership here for the next few days as England team gets his setup squared away. So hopefully again, if this turns out to be popular, we'll continue to kind of make this a weekly thing here. It won't necessarily just be reviews. If you certainly have any ideas, please leave them in the comments. Again, like, subscribe, tell all your friends. Come listen to an old guy here talk about anime, and we'll have some fun. Um, so for tonight's topic, I thought I'd keep it simple. The spring 2024 season here has started. Most of the shows thus far have had their first premiere, and I've checked out probably about I don't know at this point about eight shows so far. A couple of the big shows still haven't dropped yet, with the biggest one being Kaiju number 8. That will come out on Friday or Saturday. It's the 13th, so that would be Saturday. So that'll be a Saturday drop. Looking forward to that one. Have read the manga on that, but thought we'd just go through, basically ones I've seen so far. Again, we're talking; these are all opinions based on one or two episodes. Certainly, if you have thoughts, if you watch some of these shows, let me know in the comments what you think. So here we go. We'll go ahead and get started. I think I might have a co-host here come up shortly. We'll see. But basically, in no particular order. Again, what I've done is I've gone ahead and kind of pulled my anime list just to make it simple and easy to talk about. So far, I'll say, I mean, through one or two episodes, no show has really grabbed me yet for this season. Excuse me, the way that Apothecary did or Freean did. But again, season's early. I think there are definitely some good shows out there. And I think there's two or three that have the potential to be really, really solid shows, as we talked about in the season. So, first off here, as I said, kind of in no particular order, I pulled this one up first because the most recent, the second episode dropped today, is Bartender Glass of God. What's interesting with this is what I'd gotten from the trailers. I thought this would almost be kind of an anthology type show where, basically this kind of hidden bar, an individual, the episode would take place where an individual would walk in. We'd see like a flashback of the trouble that the person's having, and the bartender would magically create, the glass of God, aka the cocktail that would be the perfect cocktail for that person to, uncover or relieve whatever stress or issues that are plaguing them. It hasn't quite worked out that way. And in a way, I like the direction that the show is going instead. That basically we have, well, you see here kind of in the poster there that the main character is the bartender Ryu. Really, we have two other kind of co-main characters, and they're two women that are working for a hotel, and they've been tasked to find the perfect bartender for kind of one of these hidden single bar type establishments that the owner of the hotel corporation wants to put into his flagship hotel, and they've been struggling to try and find the right bartender. Um, the manager has a very strict testing procedure that he's been given by the owner of the hotel to follow to find the perfect bartender. And one of the questions is, not only understanding, how to make practically every cocktail, but how to make the perfect cocktail for the customer. So they're going through this, having trouble trying to find it, or trying to find that bartender. They come across this guy. They get directions to, as it says, in the back streets of Ginza and Eden Hall is this lone bar, uh, and they find it, and you know, you see in the first episode, the one lady that's very stressed out. He makes her basically the perfect drink, and of course now they want to hire him. He continues to say no. Um, and so in the second episode here, he's actually working at the behest of the owner in another bar, and has to try and basically make a drink for this older customer who basically like comes in once a month type thing. So it's been good. It hasn't been following an anthology. There's an actual story going along with it. I think the animation looks very good. The animation for the cocktails looks fantastic. Each one he makes, you want to just reach into the screen and drink. So, I mean, right now you can see here that, through 2 episodes, the users here on my anime list have rated it 7.6. At this point, I mean, if I were to give it a rating, I would probably say somewhere in the ballpark of a 7. Depending how the rest of the series goes, it could definitely get up to, possibly an 8 for me. So a very, very solid show. Um, and so that's Bartender Glass of God. The second show here is, and actually turned out to be the first one in the spring season that I watched, was God's Game We Play. And it's, kind of your typical, guy's very good at something. In this case, it's playing these games. As the synopsis here says, the supreme gods had too much free time on their hands. They created these ultimate brain games. So the story kicks off where these explorers find essentially a goddess that's been frozen in ice for like 3,000 years, and she gets thawed out, and she wants to play games, and it's fine. I watched the first 2 episodes so far. I would probably rate this one right now about a 5. It needs to do something different if I'm going to stick with it and watch the entire series in the current season. The second episode had the game, or had a game episode to it, for lack of a better term, and it was just a very convoluted game, and it just episode wasn't that much fun to watch. So this one's on the verge of getting dropped out, and I think a ranking of a 6.25 is honestly a little bit too high for it. One next series here, Astronaut. Only 1 episode so far, so hard to get a full idea on it. Basically, our lead character Takumi goes to this building thinking that he's looking for a job as a chef. He goes to this place thinking it's going to be kind of like a hotel, and he can be a hotel chef. And it turns out that the ad isn't quite what it's supposed to be. That the caretaker of this boarding house didn't really understand what she was doing and just copied an ad from everybody else. And it's got full of all these weird kind of quirky individuals. And then, as it says, you kind of learn at the very end of the first episode, that, oh, there's a secret that she's not from this world, and probably all the other guests at the boarding house are not from this world. You've got a kind of a middle-aged gentleman who is kind of in everybody's face. You have a person that seems like a 10-year-old kid who acts much older than he looks. So it's quirky, it's interesting, depending again how they try to pull this story together. I think the 6.5 is probably a fair score. Again, I'm not going to be scoring these until I've watched at least like half the episodes or so. It's got promise. You can never go wrong with a cute girl next door type character. in there. So we'll see where it goes. It's interesting. Some of the gags uh, work pretty well. Takumi, kind of proving his value by actually cooking, basically because the previous person that had been the cook, I think, died. Yeah, was the previous owner or caretaker of the hotel, and so the Mira there had been, attempting to cook and was basically killing everybody's appetite. So he comes in, whips up something, they all fall in love with it, and kind of bake him to stay. So we'll see how it goes. Um, so hey, good evening, Dalton. Good to see you in here. Hey, Dave, Jay, welcome on board. Um, I have seen the Joker 2 trailer. It looks interesting. I will fully admit, I've not really been interested in the Joker movie. It'll be shocking to hear me say this. I have not watched the movie. It's just something that has not appealed to me. I've not found the right moment that I wanted to watch the movie. So, it is what it is. I mean, but the trailer, you know, looks interesting. It's certainly better than any of the formulaic cookie cutter trailers that we've been getting lately. Next up, I know this is a show that was anticipated in various communities for a variety of reasons, just based on the name alone. In Archdemon's Dilemma, How to Love Your Elf Bride. So yeah, it's basically starts out. You've got this seemingly imposing sorcerer named Zagan. He participates in this auction. He immediately sees this white-haired elf, and he basically spends his entire fortune to purchase her. It turns out that she was going to be the slave to the previous archdemon, but that archdemon passed away, and so all of his belongings are being sold off on the estate. And of course, she's thinking that he's going to do horrible things to her and experiment on her, except he's in love with her, but he is basically completely socially inept and awkward. So that's where all the gags come from. It's cute. There are a couple of good laughs in there. It's definitely played off that despite his kind of imposing presence, that he actually is a decent guy at heart. And so you can see that, kind of going through it, that he will slowly kind of win her over. So yeah, it's been decent so far. It's probably in that 7-8 range. Not too goofy, thankfully. Definitely not, lewd in any way that I know some people expected it to be based on the name of the show. So yeah, definitely worth a check out. Not anywhere near as dark or serious, say, as Rise of the Shield Hero. Nowhere near as dark and depressing as a Redo Healer. So if people were getting that kind of impression from the show, at least in the first 2 episodes so far, it's not at all like that. So good fun show. Last I checked, Englandine is doing good. He's getting stuff set up. So I'm not sure if he'll have a show on Saturday or not. But yeah, I think things are going pretty good for him. So now this was a show I know I was talking to Venkman last week about. He mentioned this was one that intrigued him. This one wasn't initially on my list, but when I was flipping around the other day, it happened to be pop up on the Crunchyroll list. I thought, I'll check it out, and I was really impressed. And this is one where I think it really has potential to be one of the top shows of the year. Basically, you have this, high school kid, who's been picked on, mistreated because he looks different than everybody else. Because as you can kind of see there, he's got two-tone hair, black on one side, white on the other. He's got two different color irises, so he stands out. And basically, he's decided that the only way that he can get through life is being the strongest person, and he wants to fight. And so he decides to get himself transferred to Furin High School, which had this reputation of being a school of degenerates, known only for their brawling strength. So he's planning on going there to prove himself by becoming the strongest guy at this high school, and literally his plan is to beat everybody up to prove his worth. Well, it turns out that the reputation of the school has slightly changed over the last several years, in that they no longer are just bullies or whatever, but instead the group at the high school use their strength to protect the town from anybody who wishes to do it harm. And so he basically, the first episode basically revolves around him coming into the town. He sees a woman getting harassed by 3 or 4 bullies. He steps in, he kind of beats them up. She's impressed. She invites him over. She runs a small little cafe shop sort of thing, and she's trying to get him to open up. You can tell that she knows a little bit more of what's going on. And then lo and behold, just like in any good fighting show, the bullies come back with their huge posse of degenerates, and he's ready to take them all on when suddenly the other guys show up. And he finds out what's really interesting too is that he suddenly finds out that where he's used to people being scared of him or thinking him weird because of the way he looks and stuff, that all the shopkeepers in town and stuff are just like, oh, thank you for helping us, and oh, this and that, and he doesn't know how to take it. So it was a really good start. I was really impressed with the show. I'm curious to see where it goes. As I said, I think based on this could be one of the top shows of the season. We'll have to see how it goes. Hopefully they didn't blow most of their animation budget in the first episode with with some of the action scenes. We'll definitely see how that goes through the rest of the show. But definitely, if you like your fighting anime, this is one to check out. Let's see, Undead Quinn. Yeah, I haven't looked at that one yet. Based on kind of just the synopsis I read, it wasn't one necessarily kind of in my wheelhouse, but we'll see. I've definitely picked up others in the past. So moving on, we have this one. It wasn't initially on my list either, but hey, I was bored, something to check out last weekend. A salad bowl of eccentrics. And so basically all we learned so far is we learned there's Sosuke. He's a detective, barely making ends meet. He's doing the usual stuff you see a down on his luck TV detective doing. He's following some guy because the wife thinks the guy's cheating on him, cheating on her. So typical detective stuff. But the show, kind of starts out. You see this girl running from a horde of soldiers. She has a knight that's trying to protect her. She walks to the edge, sees this gigantic swirling whirlpool below her. She jumps in, and this is supposed to be a portal to other worlds. And lo and behold, she lands in Sosuke's world and actually lands on top of him. And she flat out tells him, "Oh, hey, I'm a princess from another world, and oh, I've got some magical powers." And he at first doesn't believe her, and then she kind of proves it to him with something. So now you've got the whole thing of she's staying with him. She wants to help him. He says no. So you get a little bit of a not quite Bewitched, I Dream of Jeannie kind of thing, but she's adjusting to life in Japan. He's doing his detective stuff. As we go through the episode, the person that he was trailing turns out he wasn't cheating on his wife, but instead he was paying protection money from some bad guys. Sosuke tries to intervene, tries to get away, starts to beat him up. Sarah followed him. She uses her powers to kind of knock the guys around and save the day, sort of thing. So not too bad. Of course, it basically about a little past halfway through the episode, we find out that the knight Sarah also fell through the kind of the wormhole and uh, winds up meeting a homeless guy under a bridge, and he basically takes her under his wing and teaches her how to be homeless. So there's some cute jokes in there. So they're supposed to meet, I think, in the second episode. So we'll see how that goes. So, cute show. We'll see. I think it's probably a little better than average. I think 7 right now is way too high for it. It's probably closer to like a 6 show. So we'll see how it goes. One of my first disappointments. Again, it's hard to say that with just one episode, but there's been several racing shows over the last season plus. Just 2 seasons ago, we had the sequel to Initial D, which I enjoyed a ton. And then there was the second one that's basically about a struggling, underfunded team in F3 that was interesting. I haven't finished yet, but I enjoyed what I've watched of that show. So here comes another racing anime. It says near future. You've got this next generation racing. These are supposed to be super fast cars with technology. AI, quote unquote, makes it safe. Because the AI is supposed to keep the cars from getting too close to each other. It has a little bit of a feel like you're watching a Formula E race for anybody there who's kind of a Formula or FIA type fan. What's interesting about this show is we see all the racing at the beginning, and we're actually not introduced to what, at least from the synopsis, is supposed to be the main character, basically until about the last 2 minutes of the episode. Otherwise, it was really boring. The racing was fine, but the initial D sequel, the racing sequences were far more exciting than this was. The characters that got introduced so far were pretty bland. And again, just a weird idea that you're introducing, quote unquote, the main character or the character that we're supposed to follow at the very end of the first episode. Because I like racing, I'll give it another episode or two. Typically you want to give an anime 3 episodes to see if it's worth sticking around, but it needs to pick up a lot for me to wind up watching this during the season. I would say a 5 is being generous. Again, you're basing it on one episode, but not off to a good start. Not off to a good start with the first episode. Let's see. Now we get to let's see. As a reincarnated aristocrat, I'll use my appraisal skill to rise in the world. So this is kind of an isekai thing. Guys, dies. He's reborn as a son. He doesn't have any appreciable talent per se, but he finds out he does have one talent. They call it appraisal. Basically, he has the ability to look at somebody and see what their strength is, what their magic strength is, their physical strength is, what their potential is, what their talent is. It was fine. Honestly, I probably need to go back and rewatch this one a little bit because I think I was a little distracted when I was watching it. It definitely had a slower pace to it, but it just really started to feel like so many of these other isekai died and reborn type shows. So I think a 7's generous in terms of what the community is giving it. I would probably be down around a 5 or a 5.5, but we'll see. Again, I'll give it a couple episodes and we'll see if it picks up. One of the returners, Mushu Tensai, Jobless Reincarnation. So here we get part two of season two. Nothing super spectacular in the opener here. This is basically just kind of setting the stage for what's going to be in the second part of it. So we left off with Rios and Sylvie actually finally getting together. Rios solving his problem, shall we say, thanks to Sylvie, and now basically they're kind of in love. So we see it. Rios is looking and going, okay, well, if I want to marry Sylvie, what do I need to do? What do good husbands, kind of do? And he lands upon this thing of, well, I need to provide her a house before I can marry her. So he looks for a house and finds one. It's actually a gigantic mansion, but it looks like it's in disrepair. And of course, it's has a very low price on it because there's rumors of a ghost that's inhabited here, and that has not only scared away but killed previous people that have gone in there to try and either take the house or explore it. And so Rios and his friends go there to spend the night to try and figure out what the mystery is. They do figure out what the mystery is. They solve it. I don't want to give it away for those you check it out. Basically, at the end, he has the house, and we end with him and Sylvie on the couch in the house and kissing, professing their love. So obviously, at some point in part two here, they're going to get married, and it'll kick off the next portion of the story. I have loved Mushu Tensai. I'm looking forward to it. I haven't read the manga, so I don't know what's going to happen. So it's all fresh and new for me. So we'll see where it goes. Again, I mean, established show. Usually the first episodes are always going to be a little slow, just kind of reset things and set things up. Let's see. This was a new one here. Chilling in another world with level 2 super cheap powers. Again, this is another one that's following, you call them some tropes, plots. You're starting to see more and more of these types of stories. Magical Kingdom, it's not an isekai per se, but it's more of, a guy who's underlooked, gets rejected from his army or turned away or dismissed, looking, okay, great. I'm don't have those constraints anymore. I can go chill out or whatever. And it turns out that he actually does have some kind of special ability. And he gets, drugged back into, some kind of conflict. And, now, starts building his harem, for lack of a better term, and, saving the day. So, we'll see. It's cute. It's fine. It sits right in there with a couple of the other shows, similar type shows from a couple of seasons ago, and we'll see where it goes. As it says, mishap leaves him unable to return home, so he's stranded in another world at far reaches from a kingdom, and he just wants to chill out. Of course, he won't be allowed to. And let's see, down to two more here. And this one made me very, very happy. Konosuba, God's Blessing on This Wonderful World, season 3. I'm so happy to have Konosuba back. This actually dropped today. I was so happy watching it. It was great. Get back with these characters and see them in all their usual wonderful wackiness. The first episode was very solid. Set up nicely, gave us a nice little refresher, because at least for me, it's been quite a while since I watched season 2 of Konosuba, or the Megamon movie. So it did a nice little job at the beginning, kind of reset, reintroduce the characters for us, and Kazuma they're basically going to get the reward based for something else. Kazuma's having some nightmares based on what happened to him in season 2. they do come across this interesting monster, which was really cleverly done. I really liked it. It was this plant monster that basically feeds off of sympathies. So it presents itself as this, poor little waif that you just want to help, you just want to save this person, and of course it turns out that it basically grabs, digs the roots into you, drags you down, and it slowly sucks the life out of you. And of course they're able to, well, at least Kozuma is able to figure it out. So very good opening episode. As I say, very happy to have Konosuba back in my life. This is one of the shows that really does an interesting, fun twist on kind of the whole isekai thing, because Kazuma basically came from our world, got killed, stood before goddess, said, "Hey, you get to be reincarnated. What do you want to do, or whatever." He chooses and makes a wish, and oh, by the way, why don't you join me too? And that's how Aqua gets stuck here, is because she was the goddess that was supposed to reincarnate him, and he basically drug her down with him. And so it's been a fun show all the way through. Really kind of subverting some of the usual tropes that you find in these isekai, these reborn into another fantasy world type stories. So great fun with the characters. And last and not least here on the list, that I also watched today, and it wasn't on my original list, but after watching the first episode, I'm definitely intrigued to see where the show goes. Mysterious Disappearances. I'll just read the synopsis here quickly. It says, Sumariko Oga is a bit busty. Bookstore clerk wants to become a novelist. Strange occurrences start cropping up. She teams with her coworker to look into them. And that's more of kind of like a general. The first episode, basically we get introduced to Sumariko and Ren. From the appearances, she seems like she's happy working at this bookstore. She laments the fact of bookstores closing. It seems like people are reading fewer books. Ren, flirtatious is a polite way to describe it. He also seems like that Sumariko is the only one that he'll talk to. But lo and behold, the manager says, "Oh, something weird happened. We had a reverse shoplift, and instead of somebody stealing something out of the store, somebody put something back into the store." And it's kind of this, well-worn, kind of, dirty-looking book. And Soriko says, "Oh, I'll take it." And she takes it home, and starts flipping through it and seeing that it's got excerpts of various poems or whatever. And we start to kind of learn her backstory a little bit, and that she was a bit of kind of a writing prodigy, that she won an award for writing at age 15, and so the expectations, she wrote a novel, or wrote some early stories that got praise and won her awards. But since then, basically she just really hasn't been able to write anything good. She hasn't been able to write, and so here we are. It's midnight of her 28th birthday, and her book bag just happens to fall over, and the book falls out, and she picks it up and looks at it and flips through it, and sees this one kind of poem and reads it out loud, and lo and behold, she's reverted back to being 15 again. And she goes running off, and has all these great ideas again to write, and what have you. And so that's kind of where we pick up. Ren finds out about this, realizes something's wrong, goes to confront her to help her to solve this, because it turns out, I forget what they called the book, it was like a Junkiko or something like that. And as he explains to her, this is not a good thing, because while you look 15, all of your body has been basically compressed and stuffed into this childlike form. And, I mean, it's kind of gross because she does start to like bleed through the eyes and stuff because it's like her normal body is starting to like try and poke through, and then so of course like the time limit of, hey, if you don't revert back to yourself, you're going to die. Um, and he flips through the book and finds the kind of the other part of the poem to say, well, you only read part of it, you read kind of the condensed part of it. Here's the full thing. And she reads the other half, and then basically grows back up to her 28-year-old self. But she's not satisfied with it, and kind of grabs the book back because she laments to him that she's sick of all the rejection notices, that nobody likes her writing anymore. She can't write. And ultimately he convinces her to give the book back. There's a really interesting chase sequence up there where she's basically kind of reciting the poem in different ways to, like, grow tiny, run through his arms, then grow big and jump over him, and what have you. And at the very end we see that, okay, Rin actually knows a little bit more of what's going on, that he knows things about this kind of darker side of Japan. So I'm curious to see where it goes. I do kind of like mysterious shows like this. And yeah, I hope it kind of becomes one of the surprises for the season. I think it has some real interesting potential to see where it goes. So that's all the shows that I have watched so far this year, or for this season. As I say, Kaiji number 8 is the kind of the next big one. There's a couple others that I do want to watch. I'm going to have to kind of search them out different ways because it seems like they aren't on the normal streaming services I have. I should mention too, one show I did pull the page up for, but the second half of Delicious Dungeon, Delicious Tenji on Netflix started. Episode 13 dropped last week, and looking forward to the second half of that show. Real interesting because the episode really, we saw the main crew only maybe for a brief moment. It essentially focused on the group of adventurers that our main group had rescued previously. So it's definitely setting up to where they're going to wind up basically kind of like coming together, because both sides are basically at this point trying to leave the dungeon to regroup. So it'll be good. Looking forward to it. Check out any comments here before we go. Again, thanks everybody for jumping on here. As I say, we're going to try and make this a weekly watch. Let's see, Cartoons in Studio. Hey, good evening. Yeah, watch anime between 12 a.m. on Adult Swim. Yeah, they definitely have some good stuff on there. Undead Quinn Remonster. I saw that one. I read the synopsis. I just don't know if it's really for me right now. I've heard that it's supposed to be pretty good. That might be one I check out towards the end of the season. I just know, kind of looking at the trailer, looking at the synopsis, I'm like, do I really want to spend time in this? Dave, No Giant Robots. Not this season. I didn't really see any robot shows or mecha shows this season, so we'll have to see. But yeah, again, hey, thanks everybody for hanging out. Appreciate it. If you want to see this continue on a weekly basis, definitely smash that like button. Definitely subscribe. So we'll try and do this kind of every Wednesday, starting around 8 Eastern, 7 in the Central Time Zone here, 5 o'clock on the Pacific. Your mileage may vary if you're in any other time zone. And thanks again. And we will talk to you later. Thanks for watching, everybody. Good night.